The Phoenix Suns are currently the 11th seed in the Western Conference, with both the San Antonio Spurs and the Portland Trailblazers nipping at their heels with the 12th and 13th spot. Given how competitive the Western Conference is, this is honestly not that shocking to me, but time and time again, I've seen people overrate the Phoenix Suns and them fall short of that expectation. And time again, I get to come on here and talk about how correct I was. So let's go ahead and do that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like, and check us out over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to enjoy this as an audio-only experience. Also, check us out over on Patreon. You get access to a Discord, main channel content early, and so on. Also, there is going to be a new main channel video about Luka Doncic, and specifically the Los Angeles Lakers and their history of just, taking your best player and putting it on their team for practically pennies on the dollar. So go check out that video. It will be releasing later today. But let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. There are a lot of different angles to talk about with this team. None of it is something I haven't explored before. None of it is something that I did not really predict. So earlier on in the year, Phoenix actually had a good stretch of basketball where they looked like they would, not really be a contender, but at the very least field like a really strong competitive playoff team, which they very much have not been in this Kevin Durant era. So it looked like they were on the up and up. Mike Budenholzer's system was clearly working for the better. The defense was holding up because Kevin Durant was playing some of the best defense of his career. I also liked some of the differences in Kevin Durant's shot diet earlier, just a way higher rim and three-point frequency than you typically expect for him. I'm not actually sure how well that held up over the year, but it was very important and very big at the start there. Tired of wobbly desks that can't keep up with your busy lifestyle? Meet the FlexiSpot E7 Plus 4-leg standing desk, the ultimate upgrade for your workspace. The reasons we went for a 4-leg standing desk are simple: better load bearing, rock solid stability, and a sleek modern design. Whether you're working, gaming, or creating, the E7 Plus is built to handle it all. With a 4-leg design and a 540-pound static capacity, stability is where the E7 Plus truly shines. Just look at me. I'm a big guy, and this thing ain't budging. Now let's say it's back to our old desk, our old standing desk. Everything wobbled all the time. But with the E7 Plus, there's no wobble, even at full height. Perfect for typing, drawing, or even getting some steps in. One desk, endless possibilities. There's also a 15-year warranty and a 30-day risk-free return, so you can buy with confidence. Don't miss out on the chance to upgrade to the FlexiSpot E7 Plus 4-leg standing desk. Use my code YTE7P50 at checkout for $50 off, and code WP30 off to get an extra $30 off for this auto-incline walking treadmill. Click the link below to get yours now and experience the ultimate upgrade in stability and performance. Devin Booker has had kind of a weird year. He definitely shot the ball rather poorly for like the first 30 or so games of the season, and that obviously is a big dip if you so heavily rely on your top two players. But for the most part, Booker and Kevin Durant have been as good as you could reasonably expect them to be. Booker maybe a little bit less than that, but more or less in that ballpark. But this is a lesson that I feel some people are just going to have to learn over and over and over again until it finally sticks with them. But the NBA, as it stands right now, you cannot just coast on two-star players and hope that that's enough, especially not in this hyper-competitive Western Conference where you are going to find a team that has at least some fight in it all the way down to the 13th seed. So none of this is surprising to me, and I almost don't even care to do the victory lap aspect of this because I've done it before. But once again, we find ourselves at this crossroads and everybody's making their Suns videos. I have not jumped on the bandwagon to do that, even though I very much could have capitalized on a lot of this hate earlier on. But frankly, how many times can I come on here and say the same things? That said, I'm still going to come on here and say all the same things. So the first things first, the star factor, the over-reliance on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, undeniably a huge problem. Then after that is the Bradley Beal contract. When the Bradley Beal trade went down, I declared this the end of Phoenix being in a true contender conversation. I said maybe if they really just pulled off like a masterclass in general managing after this deal, which the expectations for them to do that was low given that they made that stupid fucking deal. But there was the availability of the possibility that they just land a bunch of veteran minimum contract guys who are all awesome. And they had some moments where a couple of guys looked like they might be that. You know, they got Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal fits what they do well. He's not been as good this year because he put on a bunch of weight, I believe, but Grayson Allen was at least good for a stretch for them. One thing that they definitely regret very strongly is the DeAndre Ayton / Toumani Camara trade, where they traded both of those guys. DeAndre is okay, like that's not that big of a deal, but Camara has been playing all defense caliber defense, and he's like the exact kind of forward that would be most ideal to pair with Kevin Durant, and you tossed him away as just simply a throw-in. So you have that working against you, you have your lack of depth working entirely against you, and then you have the fact that you simply cannot make any type of significant roster move working against you because Bradley Beal is making $50 million to not even be a top 50 player in the NBA. Last year, I think Beal played better than he has this year, so it didn't justify the money he was making, but at least made it make a little bit more sense. But this year, his efficiency numbers are not what they were, and his contract still just as bad, and he's playing less games. That's also been a thing. Kevin Durant missed some time, Devin Booker has missed some time, and I know Bradley Beal's missed a good amount of time. This roster was not necessarily one that was going to be the most healthy and ironclad either. It would maybe be one thing if Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal were just guaranteed to play every game, but the amount of time we've actually seen that trio come together has been very minimal. Let's talk about the offseason that they had this previous one. Tyus Jones was the huge win of this offseason. You know, paying $2 million for a starting point guard, you would maybe start to wonder, given that he's at that price point, why are we having him be a starting point guard? Because maybe if teams don't even want to pay him $2 million to be a backup, I understand the market was at a weird place with Tyus, and he wanted to get a starting opportunity. Let that be a lesson in not letting your ambition shoot too far away, because he's been one of the worst starters in the entire league this year. While his playmaking punch did bring a lot to the table offensively, he's just a terrible defensive player, and this team really can't afford to have another guy who's just offense only on the floor. Not to suggest that Durant and Booker are necessarily offense only, and Bradley Beal can have his moments where he kind of tries on defense. Durant having a really good defensive year, and Devin Booker has not been worthy of the reputation of being a bad defender for like 4 seasons now. But there isn't enough defense. If Kevin Durant is your best defender in 2025, you have a real problem. I would say historically you have a real problem regardless of Kevin Durant is your best defender, but especially now. Like, does not have the verticality he used to have, does not have his overall mobility that he used to have, still ends up being the most impressive defender on this team because the competition is very slim. Size is a really big issue for this team. Other than Kevin Durant, there is not a player on this team other than centers who are over 6'5". So if you're not Kevin Durant and you're in the rotation and you're not a center, you are 6'5" or under on the Phoenix Suns. There is no tall, lanky forward. There is no tall ball lineups for this team. It does not exist. So you have essentially 3 real NBA players whom do not complement each other pretty much at all. Not to suggest that overlapping skill automatically means redundancy, because that's not the case. You can have overlapping skill and it just means the skill that you have is doubled and built on top of each other rather than it just evening out to them both being less effective. That's not what I mean to suggest. But neither Devin Booker nor Kevin Durant nor Bradley Beal are high level, like truly excellent playmakers. And pretty much every NBA team needs one of those. If I'm going across the board for recent champions, 2024, Jason Tatum is an elite playmaker. He might not rack up crazy assist numbers, but he's one of the better passers in the NBA as far as I'm concerned, especially just from a lead ball handler. 2023, Nikola Jokic, need I say more? Steph was a combine of Steph and Draymond. Steph is an all-time great playmaker because of his gravity, but again, he's not necessarily a high assist guy. You don't need to be a high assist guy to be a super, super impactful playmaker. Year before that, Drew Holiday averaged like 9 assists per game for most of the playoffs. Giannis is a pretty good playmaker at that stage of his career. 2020 goes to LeBron James, who averaged double-digit assists throughout the playoffs. 2019, Kyle Lowry was the primary facilitator on that team, an elite one at that. And if you look at the teams that are towards the top of the NBA right now, they almost all feature elite playmakers. The outlier there would actually be the OKC Thunder, because I just think there's no one who's truly an elite, like legit top 5 percentile playmaker on that team, but pretty much everybody's fine and they find their other ways to succeed. But like the Cavaliers, Darius Garland, the Celtics, as I mentioned earlier with Jason Tatum, the Los Angeles Lakers with Luka Doncic, you know? So I still can't believe I'm fucking saying that, not to get sidetracked. So the playmaking aspect is not there, and neither of them are super, super strong defenders, and that's not where they want to put the primary amount of their energy into. And as a result, these guys also have a super high mid-range shot diet, which, if you run the numbers, I know the hoopers in the chat don't like to hear this, but even if Durant and Devin Booker on super high volume collectively between them shoot 50% on all non-3-point jumpers, that is still 1 point per possession. If you shoot 33% from 3, you get 1 point per possession on that shot. So 50% for mid-range, which is elite, generates 1 point per possession. 33% three-point shooting, which is like 3 or 4 percentage points lower than league average, that is just as valuable. So as a result, if your 2 best guys are mostly taking that shot, even if they shoot that shot at an elite clip, which they do, it's still not going to result in a super efficient offense. I have seen so many people over the course of this trio's existence go, I don't understand how they can be so bad offensively when they have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. But that is not how it works. Having a good offense isn't just about having a collection of good offensive players. You need those players to complement each other, have skill, like strengths where the others have weaknesses. And if everybody has the same strengths and everybody has the same weaknesses, it will wrap around towards being redundant. You can end up surviving in a lot of games and being competitive in a lot of games against some of the better teams in the league because you have access to this crazy high-level shot making. But if you're not getting it at a crazy level, as I mentioned, then it's just probably not going to result in much. I remember back when with Booker and Durant before the Beal deal, they got to the second round. In that first round, I think Devin Booker damn near averaged 40, if I'm remembering correctly. All of this offense comes down to them, and then they also are not making their teammates better to the degree that you would want them to. And all of that comes together to a mediocre offense, and you invested all of your money in offense. So if you can't hang your hat on the thing you invested all your money in, then you're just fucked, because they aren't going to be a very good defensive team, and they're not going to be a high playmaking team. They're not going to be very good. They're not a good rebounding team. They are bad in all of the hustle stats. You know, you don't ever quite realize how pivotal and frequent hustle can actually be until you watch a Phoenix Suns game, and you just see everybody there collectively really not give a shit. Kevin Durant got shopped around this trade deadline. I am all but certain this team is going to blow up in the offseason. This roster construction was unbelievably flawed from the very inception of Kevin Durant even being there, but then adding Bradley Beal after the fact, making the Yusuf Nurkic deal, which was just historically awful. All of that culminated in me coming into this year and being like, if you think the Phoenix Suns are a contender, I think your opinion is kind of a bit of a joke. If you're actually legitimately willing to put them in that conversation after what happened to them versus Minnesota, because for me personally, in my own catalog of takes, you know, I try not to get too high or low on when I'm right or wrong about something, especially because I'm wrong about things more than I'm right about them, because that's just the nature of the NBA. It's fucking chaos. Predictions are meaningless. It's literally just filler content. But the best prediction I have made in my entire YouTube career, I think, is I picked the Phoenix Suns to get gentlemen swept, rather, by the Minnesota Timberwolves. I said 5 or 6 games. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns were the overwhelming favorite. I watched every other NBA YouTuber pick the Phoenix Suns in that series, and I was fucking baffled. And yeah, they got picked apart by Minnesota. And here's a great way to illustrate my issue with their mid-range game thing, right? Kevin Durant is if it's not him, it's Mike. Him or Mike are the greatest mid-range shooter of all time. I think Kevin Durant has a pretty fucking strong case. With that said, the Timberwolves felt comfortable putting Karl Anthony Towns on him for multiple possessions throughout multiple games. And guess what? Kevin Durant did not burn that matchup pretty much ever. He had an okay series, all things considered, but they felt comfortable putting Cat on Durant because they know Durant isn't about to drive to the basket. He's not about to do some double, like, snatch back, step back, get to a 3-point shot type shit. Regardless of what action Durant ends up running, regardless of what his approach ends up being, they are all but guaranteed that that approach, half of the time at least, is going to result in a mid-range pull-up, which is a volatile shot, which is also one that you can live with. So you say, Cat, you're a big guy, you have long arms, go stand in front of Kevin Durant while he shoots the same shot that he would in practice on repeat, and then will hopefully do well enough in that context. And they did. And because they were able to get away with something as egregious as Cat on their best fucking player, that was just very illustrative to me of exactly how the series would go. So Phoenix, they just got to blow it up. They just simply got to blow it up. And whatever they do in trading Devin Booker and trading Kevin Durant, go the route that I think it was the Brooklyn Nets that did this, that traded for their own draft picks. Do everything in your power to trade for your own draft picks, because the other thing that's real bleak about this thing is blowing it up is not going to anywhere near compensate for the amount of value you gave up to put this team together. You're not going to get super substantial core pieces, maybe 1 or 2, maybe a guy who's like a diamond in the rough as a throw-in, like, I don't know, a Toumani Camara, for example, who ends up working out and being a really good player. I apologize if I've been saying his name incorrectly, by the way. I will get on that next time. I just need to watch the Portland Trail Blazers more. But anyways, overarching point, the Phoenix Suns got to blow it up, but also they don't have their draft picks, so it's going to be a terrible rebuild. They're not going to get that many assets for Durant, I don't think, given his age, given his contract, given his more recent injury history. And I'm willing to bet you're not even going to get as much as you would like for Devin Booker because he had kind of a down year. You're damn well not going to get much for Bradley Beal. Frankly, I think Bradley Beal is just inevitably going to play out his entire contract with the Suns. It would shock me if that was not the case, or if they didn't just fucking buy him out at the, best case scenario. He can maybe get a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal. Yeah, that's basically it for anybody on that team besides for Durant, Booker, and Beal. I don't think you want to trade Ryan Dunn since he's one of your young guys, so you have that going for you. Yeesh. Bad. It's really bad. I don't know what's next for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. My headcanon for Devin Booker, I really, really, really want him to be a Detroit Piston because I believe Nick has told me he's from Grand Rapids, definitely in the Michigan area. Grew up a Detroit Pistons fan. I think him next to Cade Cunningham would be very, very, very fun. I'm really, really pro Kevin Durant going to OKC, but I also understand with the finances of all of that why that might not end up happening. But from just a storybook ending perspective, that's about as good as you could possibly ask for. But yeah, the Suns are fucked. And I knew they were fucked pretty much when they traded for Kevin Durant. I believe only a month or two after the trade even went down, I made a video like, will the Suns regret the Durant trade? And my take was probably yeah. So yeah, the point of this video is I am a genius and I'm always right about things. Go ahead, again, check out that new main channel video. It'd mean the world to me if you, as soon as that popped up in your sub box, go check that out. Or if you're not subscribed to the Deep Dive channel, go do that. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.